morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. We continue our discussion this morning, and we are chatting with the Council for Responsible Political Behavior. We have a number of guests in studio with us this morning, and I'll start from closest to me, Dr. Vishnu Ragoonath, who is the Council's chair, and we have Miss Pathleen Titus as well as our very own Curtis Williams. Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Morning. Thank you. Good morning.
Dr. Ragoonath, can you tell us a bit about the function of the Council for Responsible Political Behavior? Because people hear about it, but some persons may not know the exact role.
All right. So ever since 2014, civil society organizations in Trinidad and Tobago had come together and developed a code of ethical political conduct. They then invited the political parties at that point in time, because that was leading up to the 2015 general election, to sign on to the code and say that they will abide by the code. And all the political parties contesting the 2015 general election signed on at that point in time. Political leaders came and signed. So it was from that basis that we started. Now the code is to set up what we call prohibited conduct for political parties, candidates, supporters. So for instance, when you campaigning, keep it clean, don't character assassinate anybody, don't focus on issues, those sorts of things. As well as, when you campaigning, do not deface other people's posters and campaign boards and so on. So those are the kinds of prohibited conduct that we would speak about, and we ask people to upkeep the conduct and keep the speech clean. Don't mudsling all the time. Let us focus on issues. So that was the role of the code, and we've been doing it ever since 2015. We were here in 2017 for the THA elections. In 2021 again we came back, and in 2021 we had the political leaders signing. Tracy Davidson had signed for the PNM. Well, Farley Augustine had signed for the PDP. Dennis Oyafat had signed. Hector had signed. Several, Nikosi had signed. So we had various people signing on to the code in 2021. We know after every election term, parties change, people change, and so on. So whereas Farley Augustine would have signed as PDP, then we now have to ask him to sign on as TPP, right? But apart from that, what we say is that the party would have signed, not the individual, right? So in the case of the PNM, as far as we're concerned, the PNM had signed then, and their signature still stands, right?
And Ms. Titus, tell us a bit about, enforcement. Although it's something that people voluntarily participate in, nobody forces them to do so. But how is it enforced? And is it that you notice that they are going against the code of conduct and you call them in to have a discussion about it? What is the level of enforcement that's available?
Well, you will realize that I am new. I am just joining the so I think Dr. Ragoonath would be best able to answer that. But from my reading, you cannot force anybody to do anything. It's more like blaming and shaming or something like that, moral suasion, but not, enforcing. But Dr. Ragoonath could tell you more about it.
About that.
Well, exactly. We have no teeth, literally. We are toothless bulldog, but and what we do is we try moral suasion. So basically, what we do, we try to monitor as much of the campaign as we can. But I mean, bear in mind, it's only 8 of us on the council. We can't be everywhere and see everything. So we invite members of the public to submit to us complaints where they would have found breaches in the code. And once they submit it, we'll then review the complaints. If they have video evidence, if they have photographs, whatever, we'll review it and then we'll pronounce on it. How we pronounce on it is simply after we meet as a council and we make a decision as to whether somebody has breached the code or not, we will then issue a media release for the media to publicize it, because literally the people who sign in on the code may not necessarily know anything about what is going on. So for instance, somebody may go and stick somebody else's candidate poster on somebody else's or rip down another person's own. But that has nothing to do with the political leader or the candidate or anybody like that. So the idea here is to let them know that this is your party breaching the code, and we don't have that direct link with the political parties, so we do it through a media release, because as far as we're concerned, the party would have been a signatory to the code. They would have understood what are the ethical conduct and prohibited conduct, and we want them to try to bring their party in line. And when their members may falter, they have to actually tell them that they faltered. Of course, many a times, the political leaders and the candidates who will falter, but again, we have no control over them, so we ask it. And then the point about it is, once you sign on to the code, you accept that this is what you are going to abide by and adhere to. But of course, if you are breaching it, we leave it up to the population to decide whether that's acceptable or not.
Who they want to vote for
Right.
or not. Mr. Williams, tell us how we can access this code of conduct for persons who are wondering if the things that they're seeing actually breaches the code of ethical political conduct.
Sure. There's a website, and I can quote the website, www.politicalethicst.org. That site can lead you to where the code of ethics lies. There will be a phone number soon that will be issued.
No, well, everything is on the
Yes.
on the website.
On the website.
But
yes.
the phone number, a WhatsApp phone number, we could give you it at 793-4505.
Okay, fine.
And you could send us an email at info@politicalethicst.org.
Great.
Excellent. And Dr. Ragoonath, tell us about what does the monitoring process include of these political entities? Is it that you are visiting, because you indicated that would start soon, monitoring for the upcoming THA elections. What does that really include?
Well, what it does, you see, monitoring is we only monitor a campaign, right? And to that extent, what we will do is simply, like for instance, I am in Trinidad, most of my other members are in Trinidad. We try to probably follow on some of the campaign that is presented on the media, whether streaming off your television station or any others, or YouTube or whatever. So we try to follow some of that, as well as we follow what is being published in the press. And so from the electronic media as well as the print media, we try to follow what is going on. If we pick up things, for instance, we then immediately identify it. We also invite members of the public who are following social media more than us, and who are the ones who are participating in social media. If they see somebody presenting something that is not in keeping with the code, well, then we now have to.
Right. And Ms. Titus, even as the political culture evolves in Trinidad and Tobago, and we're trying to move away from this type of dirty politics, the one that discourages even young persons from wanting to be a part of it, why is it important that political parties truly embrace this code of conduct moving forward?
Well, as you said, we try to move away from the dirty politics, the mudslinging and that kind of thing. And we hope that the persons who are in leadership position will encourage their followers not to embrace that kind of thing. It is important because we all live on a small island, and we all have to live here after the election. So we hoping that the animosity will not be such that it would carry over into the real, life after elections.
Right. And Mr. Williams, do you think that by embracing this type of code, we can create a new culture? And does it include any kind of environmental aspects to the monitoring as well? Like, for instance, I remember a long time ago, you used to see a lot of posters all over in the environment, a bit polluting. And now you see them shifting away from the smaller posters to, bigger banners, more billboards, some things that are a bit more environmentally friendly. So is there that environmental component to it as well?
Well, as I can tell you, from signing on the code, the chamber have been part of this. Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce have been part of the committee from since then. The Tobago division now came on, and I am the representative for the Tobago division. So it was really good to see that. We want to see the type of the election standard lift in Tobago to move to that professional standard. We already seen, because we start monitoring from today, but prior to us monitoring, the campaign started, and we already seen in spaces where things have gone, the threshold for the code, some parties already break the threshold. And so again, it's just to alert all the parties, get them on to sign. Remember, the only time we could know that you're really representing the specific areas after nomination day. Sure. So we hope that after nomination day now, then we can really hold you, let's say, tight to it, as the case may be. But we will be monitoring as things go by as to what you do and how you go about your campaigning, both the leaders and the different representatives for the various areas. So we want a clean and really safe election in Tobago. Tobago have, from the past history, we have been really, really clean in our election. Sometimes some folks get overboard in the excitement, so we're trying to tell the various parties to control your supporters, make sure that we have a nice and clean election, because the next day we all have to live and function in this space.
Correct. Dr. Ragoonath, tell us about some of the things that are included in the code for political, ethical political conduct that persons may not know or may have overlooked or thought that this may not have been that much of a serious thing. What exactly is ethical political conduct when we look at it as a whole?
Okay, so to start with, the first thing we don't want people to get down to the gutter level and mudsling, character assassinate, those sorts of things.
Right, but some persons may also say to you, well, that's a part of the politics.
Well,
we always have a little pecan.
No, there's one thing between pecan and getting into that dirty gutter politics. In fact, yesterday as I got into Tobago, the first thing I was told was simply that Mr. Dennis, I think, had made a speech saying that he's not going to go that level in this election. But the point about it is that's the first thing. But apart from that, right, there are also other kinds of things that, people make false declarations, defamatory allegations, character assassination, at times even inciting violence and hatred amongst people, right? So those are some of the things that we don't want. And as you mentioned that issue with regard to the environment, for instance, when we tell people, you put up your posters, make sure you don't deface other people's posters and whatever else. One part of that, however, tells us is that, you're supposed to clean it up after the election, right? Hopefully within some good space of time. But you're supposed to clean it up. Mm-hmm. Of course, we know that many a times, if the people who lose don't even come back and look back at what is happening. But those are some of the things that we want to do. The issue with criticizing private lives of candidates, their families, and so on, that is something that we should not encourage, right? We should not encourage people to threaten other people, and that's within the law, and to tell you to come and buy a vote or pay. So those are things that we want to discourage. And basically that's the ethical conduct that we are asking people to maintain. And not permit your supporters to simply think that they have the freedom to do whatever they want. You as the political leader, you as the candidate, you have to tell your supporters how to behave and keep them reined in the context. Now, again, no political leader, no candidate could tell every member, don't do this or don't do that. But the point about it is that there are limits to which we must go, and people must understand that.
Excellent. Unfortunately, we are a bit out of time this morning, but even as from the perspective of the chamber, Mr. Williams, is there anything specific, as it pertains to the code of conduct that you are looking forward to in this upcoming THA election?
Well, we're looking forward to a clean campaign, not only clean in the sense that, because part of the code is that after your public meeting, you're supposed to tidy up and keep the environment clean. So you're supposed to move away all your paper and all this stuff that you left there after the campaigning. So that you asked that question early on. So yes, that's part of the code in tidying up your spaces after the election. We at the Tobago division, we definitely want a clean campaign. We want the standard of the campaign to rise in Tobago. So that the others can look at Tobago as a template and how we do politics and how we care about ourselves. Keeping in mind that the next day, the 13th of January, we all have to live and survive in this small space, right? And I think it's important that we look at all the definition and that we mention the character and so those things are just not for the space. Let's come with facts. Let's come with proper facts. Talk all that you have to say, and let's see what the outcome will be on the 13th.
Ms. Titus, what about you? Are you looking forward to anything in particular in this upcoming THA?
I just want to echo the sentiments that Mr. Williams said, a clean campaign. Long ago the camaraderie was there, even though you had different political parties, but there was a sort of camaraderie between people. But we have seen that change over the years. I hope they will, something like that will come back, because as I said, we all have to live here after. So let us have a clean, non-violent election campaign and,
Excellent. Dr. Ragoonath, I want to thank you so much for being in Tobago and, making sure that you have your team that's on the ground and doing what needs to be done to ensure ethical behavior within this upcoming THA election. I think it's going to be really exciting, and we look forward to an eventful election season. Well, as I indicated, we have come to the end of our discussion this morning. We want to thank you again for being here and ensuring that you, although you may be the toothless bulldog, that you really have your key function to keep the politicians and the political parties and the supporters in alignment with a higher standard of political conduct. It's not just for the politicians, but even persons as supporters, to create an environment that, makes or raises the quality of politics on a whole, the way we hold persons accountable for the offices that they are in, but also being able to create an environment where persons are more willing to step forward and represent their community and represent ideas that may be opposite to the popular idea. Maybe persons want to bring new concepts or new ways of understanding into what currently exists in Tobago and Tobago's development. Are we open-minded enough to accept different views and perspectives without attacking persons on a personal level for their opinions or wherever they sit or stand on the political spectrum? So that's something for you to think about your own political conduct during this season. But unfortunately, we come to the end of this morning's discussions, and again, I want to thank you so much for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and have a great day.